What's up guys, Vulkan here, and today we have some brand new gameplay for Biomutant from Game Informer. And this video has tons of new information that we're going to go over with some unannounced features that I'm sure most of us are going to love. Now if you like the Biomutant content, be sure to subscribe for future videos. Alright folks, so let's go ahead and let's get into it. So the video opens right in the action with a mini boss fight, and we get our first look at a loot drop in the game. Now this was an uncommon straw top that dropped with 2.5 stars for its rating system. Now I believe 5 stars is the maximum, but that's from older footage, so we'll have to see if that's changed. The item comes with some resistances, stats, and a perk that increases loot chance by 38%, which seems a little odd for an uncommon item to drop with that, but maybe you don't find loot unless you have an increased chance. I'm not 100% sure, but that kind of seems like the case. And we also got our first look at resource drops for crafting, with the clinks and planks dropping from the minion kill. Now the combat is definitely Devil May Cry inspired, as the devs wanted it to be kung fu and flighty. I feel like they hit the nail on the head, and swapping between weapons is super smooth, going from melee to ranged. It's just a simple button press. You don't need to wait for animations or a certain window to do so. You just press it and it goes. Now speaking of combat, we also learned you can have up to 5 loadouts that are created with different gear and weapons to suit different situations, and these can all be swapped on the fly mid-combat, right? So you don't have to go into a menu very often to swap around gear unless you're changing one of those sets. You just click it and it goes, and that's something that I think is going to really make the combat in this game seem smooth and pop off. And this is something I wish more games would do. And with Biomutant's heavy focus on exploration and combat, it seems like they're wanting to keep players in the world and out of menus as much as possible, which I think is going to play very well into this game's appeal. So next up, we switch over to a new area, Hobby Dunk, and pick up a side quest for Lumen Shrines. Now it looks like Biomutant will have area objectives as well, so we can see on the side of the screen that there's a checklist of things to discover, like underground areas, superb loot, and items like old world gadgets. So this is going to help encourage the exploration. We also have confirmed there will be climbing in the game, so there's a lot of verticality as well. And this game just looks fantastic. I mean, the color palette, the design seems like such a cool mix of fantasy and whimsical. We also learned there's going to be 7 biomes to explore, each with their own theme, hazards, and resistances that players will need to prepare for. So we won't be able to fully explore every area right from the start. The hazards are going to kill us too quickly, but eventually you can build up to 100% resistance and explore without any penalties. Otherwise, you're going to die. Now, there is a slight variation to this, so when you create your character, you can choose a resistance to receive a starting bonus in. So that's going to help you explore those certain areas a little bit further without the need for extra gear right at the beginning. Now when it comes to exploring these biomes, you have ground mounts, flying mounts, gliders, jet skis, mechs, and there are tons of ways to move around the world, which is awesome, because I feel like they really went all in on making travel as varied as possible to help bring some uniqueness to the table, rather than just having a mount or walking everywhere. Now as a bonus, you can also fight from your mounts, and they can swim, so you don't have to worry about jumping in the water and getting dismounted or having to hop off to fight something. Now let's go ahead and switch over to this underground section they showed off. So we learned there's going to be a massive underworld on top of the overworld, and this game gives players a lot of tunnels and caves to explore, like this old subway system. They show off some rare and legendary items that we found in some lockers, which is interesting because it looks like the items don't come with perks, but rather just a set of base stats, attributes, and you're going to need to add those perks onto the items through crafting instead. Now I'm okay with this, right? But it might take away from the excitement of finding like a well-rolled item. Are there rolls on items? How do we get those specific perks? We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm just curious how this whole thing comes together, because crafting and loot is still kind of a mystery. We know there's a lot that goes into it, like you can put all these different pieces together to make a weapon, but where do you get the perks? Do you have to unlock them, find them in the world? So a lot of questions to be answered. Hopefully we'll have that before the game comes out, or maybe we'll just have to discover it when the game does get here. So in this section, we also see an example of the puzzles that are tucked away in the game. Now this rotational puzzle in a breaker box ends up opening a door that has a chest inside, which gives them a new automaton, which is that little grasshopper companion we've seen in trailers. And these little guys help out. They're basically your Zelda fairy that kind of hang out with you, talk to you, and provide insight. So the Game Informer crew also mentioned at this point that you will need to talk to NPCs in the world. They're going to help guide you to hidden entrances, point you towards rare loot, and give you quests. but you'll need to have a similar aura to them to get the most out of those interactions. And your aura is determined by decisions you make. So this is basically a light versus dark system. If you make good choices all the time, then villains aren't going to help you out. They're hardly going to talk to you, but the good guys definitely will. Hey, go here, do this, and vice versa. Now, this is obviously more complex than that. NPCs are going to have a different karma systems. You're going to see a lot of characters that are like chaotic good, for instance. So don't think it's a very black and white system where I'm always going to choose good, therefore they're always going to help me. There's a little bit more depth to it than that. So swapping to this new area, we're going to fight another mini-boss, and we also learn that the game will have a barber system at this point. You can change your appearance at any time, which is awesome for those of us who like to put our characters on a heavy rotation when it comes to looks. Now, I wonder if you're going to be able to change your fur and color pattern, or will there be a way to change your genetics as well? Because that's something you create when you create your character, which I'm going to be talking about in a different video, but that is something that comes into play quite a bit. Now, this last scene, we get to have a look at the helicopter backpack, some fire trails, and these fire trails, I cannot wait to build a character around these. This is going to be so much fun. And there's also a photo mode, and I'm super pumped about this because that's going to make for some awesome screenshots and thumbnails. So thank you very much, Experiment 101, for putting a photo mode in. Not enough games have this. So next up, let's talk about the crafting system. We get a great look here. They start off with a basic shotgun weapon and they start adding all kinds of parts onto it to make it into this like crazy rocket launcher, laser beam shooting looking gun that has a perk called Speeded, which causes kills to instantly reload the magazine. And this is one of the big things that pulled me into Biomutant originally, the insane flexibility in crafting and being able to really make all of these crazy weapons with items you find out in the world. The developer said we roughly have 1 million variations and combinations that we can put together. So we're going to have lots of fun finding out what parts are top tier, experimenting with different combinations, what certain types of parts or weapons will work well against certain enemies, because I'm sure there's going to be a kind of resistance type of thing built into the game. And there's just a lot that comes out of this. I mean, even on this crafting example, we see this basic shotgun go from a magazine size of 6 to 36. And that's all because of the parts you strap to it. We also see 2 new rarities, Grand and Ultimate, which I'm curious if those are higher than Legendary. Are those the highest? I'm not entirely sure, but things seem to be a little bit different than your typical RPG, with Legendary often being the top tier piece of gear. So this has been a fantastic video. Game Informer really did a great job of showcasing everything. If you want to watch the full video with the Game Informer commentary, the link is in the description below. But I really hope you guys are as excited for this one as I am. I really feel like this game is going to have lots to explore, lots to experience, and it really checks a lot of boxes for me. It is a single player game, it is not multiplayer, so keep that in mind. And it looks like you can pause the game because photo mode did pause it. So if you're someone who is a busy parent or somebody who needs to, pause and, move around a little bit, then this one might be a good fit for you. So I want to hear from you guys. What are you most looking forward to in Biomutant? What's the most exciting thing? Let me know below. And as always, thank you guys so much for the support. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.